is happening, Blades? Welcome back to another Blades Ramble, and we continue the streak of daily rambles. Today is Monday, the 11th of September, 2023, and channeling my inner Carol Vorderman, I can tell that means we are on number 11 of the daily rambles. So we're having a ramble every day in September just to try and boost those subscriber numbers. We are 23 away as I record this from 3,000, and that's poignant because tomorrow, the 12th of September, is our birthday, our first birthday, the first ramble I ever put out, which I may or may not clip here.
What's happening, Blades? So, I've been threatening to do this for ages, and it's here now, so hope you like it. It's a new Blades channel.
Was on the 12th of September 2022, and it has been a brilliant ride ever since. So thank you to everybody that supported me thus far and continues to do so. Thank you so much to our ramblers who mean everything to the channel and have helped us get to this point. If you'd like to become a rambler, all the details are down below. But as I say, the main thing we're asking is that people subscribe. We do want to hit that target of 5K before Christmas Day, but it'd be lovely to get to 3,000 for our birthday tomorrow. I will be going live with a birthday celebration for the Ramble. If you want to join us, you're more than welcome tomorrow night. Before we jump into today's updates, I'd like to just thank everybody as well for their kind comments on my recent sort of streak of interviews. I've had a bit of an eclectic mix. I've had Rob Staton was my first one. Really interesting chat with Rob about his experience in local radio and some of the tales that he came across in terms of managers and clubs and relationships and balancing those things out. And yeah, really, really interesting chat. Really enjoyed it. Got to know him a little bit rather than just being the interviewer all the time and sort of the facilitator, if you like. So that were really, really good. Darren Smith then came on, the man that everybody wants to hear from in terms of all things Sheffield United, what actually went on behind the scenes during the transfer window. Thank you to Darren. It's always great to chat to Darren, and no doubt that will not be his last appearance on the channel. I had Johnny on from Shore and View. Really pleased to get Johnny on. We've not actually, that was the first time we've spoken in person. We've spoken a lot over text and over different social media platforms and things, but that's the first time we've met, if you like. We've not yet met in person. I'm sure that's on the cards, but a really interesting chat with Johnny, whose channel, The Shore and View, was the first on the platform, to my knowledge, certainly the first that's got any real traction. So thanks to Johnny again for coming on. We also had a really interesting chat with the Championship guru. A bit of a coup for me to get him on the channel, I must say. Benjamin Bloom joined us yesterday, and we went through all things like Sheffield United, and we talked about the Championship and found it a really interesting conversation. And it's timely, really, that we had a chat about the Championship, because there were also murmurings, and he asked me a little bit about it during our interview, and I hadn't seen it at that point, but I've been back and had a look since, and it's linked to Leeds United. And some people wonder why I have a seething hatred of Leeds United. I really cannot stand the club. I think they're deluded, not a fan of them at all, if I'm honest. Part of that is because I live in West Yorkshire and I was brought up in Wakefield, and all my mates are Leeds. Another part of it is how entitled they are, and that they deserve and they have a God-given right to be in the Premier League, and they're a bigger club than everybody else in Yorkshire. Well, it's not how it is currently, but just watch this little clip of Angus Kinnear on the Square Ball podcast. I went to school, we went to Square Ball, lads. Michael Normanton, top lad. Unfortunately, he's a Leeds fan, but, you know, we can't be everything, can we, to everybody? But have a look at this clip and just see if you come out feeling the same way I did.
Take someone like Gustavo Hamer at Coventry, or Gyökeres at Coventry, or Cameron Archer at Aston Villa, who were players that we thought would be on the cusp of joining a lower level Premier League team or a good Championship side. I think we were very confident that we were confident, and I think we were proved right in our ability to fight off Leicester or Southampton. So I don't think Leicester or Southampton have signed anybody that you know ahead of us in terms of who we wanted. But where we have lost out is to Premier League sides, and it's depressing to, you know, with the greatest respect to Bournemouth, it's depressing to lose players to Bournemouth or to Sheffield United. Damn! The type, you know, that type of play. Take someone like Cameron Archer. You know, he has already had, he's had a Championship loan. Doesn't want to go again. Wants a permanent home. We're prepared to offer him a permanent home, but would prefer to be in the Premier League. And you can make the case that I think that Leeds United probably have more chance to be in the Premier League over more regularly over the next 5 years than Sheffield United do. But the fact we're not there at the moment is a problem for those players.
How about that? For entitlement, arrogance, they're going to spend more time in Premier League than we are in the next 5 years. We'll see, won't we? We'll see. I don't see anybody down in tools not wanting to play for Sheffield United. No mercenaries at our club, pal. So thanks for your comments. I hope it goes up on Warwick changing room with all the rest of the naysayers. Come on, Blades. Stick it to them. And let's hope Leicester and Southampton smash them out of that league and go further and further down. On your way, Leeds. Not having it. Unbelievable. Glad to get that out of my system. And we're back. We're back in the room. It just does my head in that. Why have they got a God-given right over anybody to be in the Premier League? You earn it. I'm sure they feel the same about Luton Town. Luton are there on merit. It just does my head in. Absolutely. Anyway, by the by. So anyway, on to more Blades business. I thought it'd be interesting, and I've been threatening to do this for a while, and I might try and check in every now and again doing something similar. To have a look at our loanees. Now, this has coincided with Nath Emmingham doing an article in Yorkshire Live about it. So do support Nath and go and check out his article, because this is just a timings thing. I'd planned it all in for me daily ramble, and I don't want anybody to think that I've lifted it directly or do you know what I mean? So it's certainly nothing like that, but it's just, he's got a great article that gives you probably a bit more detail than I'm about to give you. But we're looking at the lowdown on the Lane Loanees. And I don't want to be alone. So United putting a lot of stock in developing our squad currently. I love the sustainable model. I want to think that we've got a next generation of talent coming through on the conveyor belt with a fantastic history of doing that, even though we're not Cat 1 status. But how are our youth prospects doing out on loan? And I've got 5 that I'm going to talk about today. There are more than 5. There's Connor Barrett out on loan at Solihull. There's Dylan Wharton out at Gainsborough. But I'm going to focus on 5 that's, in all honesty, been a little bit easier to get the stats for. So first up is Finlay Potter. He's a young centre-back for United. He's come through the academy. He's on loan at Barnet, and he's made 5 starts. He's on loan at Barnet. And we're doing well, 3rd in the league last I checked. And because he didn't come in at the start of the season, he's not really been able to shift himself directly into the starting lineup. But he started 2 games and played in all 5 that he's been available for. But he's been coming off the bench in the other 3. So fingers crossed he can bed in a little bit more into Barnet, and we're going well in the National League, and hopefully make his way into the first team for a little bit more sustained development at that level. Next up is Harry Boyes. Harry Boyes is a left wing back. Could he be the long-term solution to our left wing back problems? Well, for me, he's got to accelerate his development a little bit. And that's I think it's a big season for him this year. And it might be too critical. I haven't seen loads of Harry, but from what I've seen, I like. As I say, he's really highly thought of at the Lane. He's 21 now. He'll be 22 in November, so it's round the corner. We haven't got much time left. He's got to start pushing into that first team now, or challenging for a first team role. And he was on loan at Forest Green Rovers last season, and then we recalled him. They were bottom at league when we recalled him, and he went out on loan to Lincoln in the same division in League One. Did okay. Got in the team, was a regular. I was hoping that he'd get a championship loan this time and step his development up. Unfortunately, we couldn't get him a championship loan, or certainly not one that were willing to play him week in, week out. So he's gone on loan to Wickham in League One. He started 4 of 6 games for him. As I say, for me, good player, need him to kick on now. It's a big season for Harry. Needs to get into that team consistently. Needs to be knocking on the door of getting a recall in January and going out to the Championship if he wants to be considered in our squad going forward. Come on, Harry. You can do it, pal. Now we come on to some names that most of you will be more familiar with because they've sort of been in and around the first team in recent times. First one being Harrison Neal. Harrison Neal, I really like the look of in pre-season, and I thought he was going to get a chance. Well, he's gone on loan to Stevenage, which doesn't sound like the most glamorous of moves. However, they have flown up from League Two and started on like house on fire in League One, doing really well. So it's been tough for him to break in. He hasn't started a league game for him yet. He's been making sub appearances in the dying minutes and things like that. So it's not really started clicking yet. but it's early season. Harrison's another one that's 22, and he needs to have a good season this year for him to continue in the reckoning for pushing for a spot at United. We've said it before, one of the few downsides to United being promoted, and listen, we'd take it all day long, won't we? But it does make it harder for those youth prospects to break in, because if we're in the Championship, it'd be an easier route in, I think, for some of these youth lads. And now we move on to what I believe are the two brightest prospects in our academy. I don't just say that because they're both 19 years old, but the first one is Ollie Blaster. What a player this kid is. I think he's potentially a future captain of the Blades. 19 years old, as I've said, centre midfielder, very cultured, very technically good on the ball, composed. He started 5 out of 6 of Port Vale's league games this season. He's got man of the match already against Reading. That was actually on the day that the night before his granddad had died, and then he got man of the match the following day. It says an awful lot about his character. He's born a Blade, and I'm really excited to see what Ollie can do. I'd like for some of these, I mean, I've mentioned Harry Boys, but obviously Ollie's got a little bit more time, being 19. I'd like him to see a full season through, like Harrison Neal did at Barrow the season before and ended up with their Young Player of the Season award. But also, if Blaster shows the type of development that he's tracking to at the moment, it might be worth a recall in January and sending him out to the Championship. We shall see. Watch this space. The second of our real bright sparks out on loan for me, and that's no disservice to anybody else that's already out. Louis Marsh. We talk about him all the time. This kid is going to be a star for us. Last season, his stats were unreal for the under-21s. He played 33 games, scored 23 goals and got 16 assists. That is unbelievable numbers. It was a hot property. Lots of clubs wanted to take him on loan, clubs from League One and League Two. He chose to go to Donny. He's obviously must have received some assurances about playing time because he's obviously made that step down to League Two. But he's got the potential to light up this league. He made his debut against Wrexham, coming on as a late sub at the weekend, but I'm sure they're just integrating him slowly because Grant McCann's already said he's an outstanding finisher from what they've seen in training. He's got a hammer of a right foot, real powerful shot. He said the last time he saw someone strike as hard as that was David Healy. He's had lots of good things to say about Louis Marsh, as have we. Another boyhood Blade who we're really excited to see how he gets on. All the best to Louis, all the best to all our Loanees. We hope you get the minutes and the progress that you need to be involved at United going forward. And I'll keep you informed as to how they're getting on. Huge shout out to future Sheffield United manager, and that's a big call, Nick Montgomery, on his pending appointment at Hibs. Monty was out in Australia, Central Coast Mariners manager, and won the Aussie Cup or the Aussie League, won a competition, whatever it was, and did really well on a very limited budget and has created himself a real reputation overseas. He has now, he's on the verge of being appointed the Hibernian manager, replace Lee Johnson. All the best to Monty going into the SPL. We will be keeping a keen eye, particularly now you're going to be closer to home. And let's hope that one day he may well return to the lane, maybe in the dugout. So we shall see, but best of luck to Monty in his in what looks like is going to be his new adventure. I'm going to finish on Jimmy Mack, who decided he was coming back. We were all over the moon at James McAtee re-signing, but how close was he to going elsewhere? Well, it's been revealed, and we sort of had inklings of this at the time, City weren't overly keen on him coming to us. And that's nothing to do with our relationship with City, which is really strong, as we're all aware now. It was largely to do with the fact that, well, a couple of factors, really. Leicester's manager was Pep's old assistant, this Enzo fella who's gone to Leicester. They have a £100 million training facility. So they've got a massive upgrade on what we can offer in terms of they have got the infrastructure that we haven't. They're also anticipated to dominate certainly the ball, if not the league itself. Going forward, he would obviously be involved in a more attacking team. He'd see a lot of the ball. He'd be able to sort of further develop in possession. We're not going to be that. Let's be right. We're going to see less of the ball this year. Yes, he'll have a chance to carry the ball on the counter for us, but ultimately he's going to be on the losing side more than he's on the winning side in our team, if we're open and honest about what we think is going to happen this season. They didn't force McAtee into a decision, they ultimately left it to the player, and thankfully, that's what got it over the line for United, because he wanted to come back to us. They were leaning him towards Leicester, and it was very close. It could just as easily have been done that way. It was at Leicester the day before he signed for us. City also delayed the signing, so he couldn't play. They didn't do it maliciously, but they were still working on, are you sure you want to go to Sheffield United? Are you sure you want to go to Sheffield United? Right on deadline day. So we didn't get him in before 12, and that was nothing to do with us. On the United website, you can see a fantastic interview done by Radio Sheffield, Rob Staton, friend of the channel, who interviews Betis, and Betis explains all this. So if you haven't seen that already, do go across and have a watch. So yeah, it was very close, but I genuinely think McAtee could be the final piece of our puzzle. Certainly in our first 11, being competitive enough to stay up. It's now just going to be a case of whether we can avoid injuries, but time will tell. So thank you everybody for joining me today, and thank you for the continued support of the Ramble. If you do like what we're doing, please do subscribe and join us tomorrow for our birthday celebration. I'm going live. We'll be able to talk all things Blades, whatever you want, really. It's just a bit of a celebration, as I've said. So could get to 3,000, 23 away. That'd be great. And then we're fully on track for 5K before Christmas Day. But I'll leave it to you whether you want to do your thing or not. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards. Up the Blades! Ramble